Why do we talk about money so much? Who wants to make more money? Here's the bigger question. Do you want wealth or happiness? And why does your brain limit how much money you can make and really limit your ability to make money? Why do we talk so much about money? Because it seems everybody talks about money. I know in a lot of my prior Go Reflect Yourself episodes, I have also talked a lot about money and what it may or may not mean to you. Today, however, I am specifically going to talk about how your money and your brain is limiting your ability to make money or make more money. How you can get over it so you can make more, no matter what your income level is. Stay tuned to this episode of the Go Reflect Yourself podcast. Hi there. My name is Heather J. Crider, and I welcome you to the Go Reflect Yourself podcast. I'm here to bring you real, practical, brain-based strategies helping you transform your life one thought at a time. Working hard and staying busy will only get you so far. To truly become happy, content, and who you're meant to be, you have to move beyond physical capacities and look from within, allowing you to overcome those obstacles and barriers. My mission is to help inspire you to take massive action to transform your life, all starting from the inside out. I invite you to watch or listen to this podcast and share it with others who you feel can also benefit from it. I invite you to join my free Facebook group, Beat Burnout. That's where we provide more practical neuroscience and mindset strategies, helping you reduce stress, anxiety, and overcome overwhelm. Thank you so much for being here. I'm honored and grateful for you.
You are stronger than you believe. You have greater powers than you know.
Money is everywhere. Right now, as I record this conversation with you, my computer's on, I have lights on, my air conditioning's running, my refrigerator's running, all sorts of things are going on, which means I have power and I am paying for my power. You cannot do much of anything without spending, using, thinking about money. You can't leave your house or have any major entertainment or just life without money. It is everywhere. I was thinking about that this week. My kids started back school. Hallelujah. But they started back and I was thinking, and I forgot about all the back to school things, the registration fees, the books, the supplies, the calculator. Depending upon your view of money, it could stress you out and it could feel expensive. And it's a lot. It just is. Money stresses people out when you don't have it. Money stresses people when you do have it. Money is actually one of the major stressors in life and causes so many arguments and, yes, even divorces among married people. But why? Why do we worry so dang much about money? Why does it stress us out, regardless of your income? If you have it or don't, why? There's many reasons actually to that question of why, many which I've talked about in prior episodes and many that I cannot tackle today, but I'm going to tackle one major part of this whole money conversation, which is how your brain limits your ability to make money or limits your ability to have peace and around money. And I'm going to show you how you can switch that gear in your brain so you can attract more money and more peace around money and stress less about it. So let's start with a question though. Okay. What do you choose? Do you choose wealth or do you choose happiness? And be honest, do you choose wealth or do you choose happiness? Most people instantly pick happiness. 99% of people instantly choose happiness. But I'm going to ask you this question one more time. And this time, I want you to just see what comes up for you. See how your body feels. See what you notice. What would you choose? Wealth or happiness? What do you feel? Does some sort of flitter come up in your gut? Does your brain start to play tricks on you, rationalizing, overthinking, overanalyzing? Maybe you might think, if I were happy, it'd be easier for me to make money. Or maybe you start thinking, what good is being wealthy if I'm unhappy? You might even know people, and you might even say, I know a ton of people who are extremely wealthy and extremely miserable. So happiness must mean it's way more important. That might be some of the things you might be thinking of. But just feel if there's any conflict in your body. Feel if you notice anything in your body, even as I'm saying these things. Do you think there's a deeper desire? Is there a conflict around that desire when I talk about wealth versus happiness? So here's the punchline to all of this. The newest economic research shows that wealth is a predictor of happiness. Let me say that one more time. Research shows wealth is a predictor of happiness. The more you make, the happier you actually become. Now, before I get a bunch of hate emails or DMs about that's ludicrous, of course I must be happy, wealth doesn't mean happiness, blah, blah, blah. Just bear with me, okay? Just really follow along. I encourage you to humor me here, be gracious, to allow me to take you on a journey to show you what the heck I'm talking about. So you can make more money, but more importantly, so you can have more peace and less stress. Okay. I'd like to invite you to go on a little journey with me and have an experience. And I'm going to walk you through a quick visualization. If you're driving right now, please pay attention to driving, but I'd also like you to at least think about what I'm saying. If you're not driving and you're doing anything else, I encourage you and I invite you to really fully participate. See if you can fully participate here and just kind of pause everything else you're doing for a quick moment. Okay. I'm going to ring my bell and I invite you, as I do, really see if you can allow your spine just settle in and allow your spine to become nice and upright, but not uptight. If you can, I'd like to invite you to close your eyes and just take a super deep breath. You might even yawn, which I'm going to do because I triggered a yawn. It's okay to yawn. If you know anything about me and my prior conversations, yawning's very good. But I invite you to take a nice, gentle breath and really immerse yourself in feeling the air blowing in through your nostril into your lungs. And on the exhale, really seeing if you can't relax your neck, your shoulders, and just allow relaxation to fill you and any tension or stress or worry to release if you can. And one more super slow breath in. Again, inviting oxygen, feeling the gentle air in your body and allowing relaxation. As you exhale, now I'd like to invite you just to allow your mind to deeply reflect and lean into the question I'm about to ask you. What would it feel like for you to be the happiest person on earth? Just immerse yourself in whatever comes up for you. Visualize yourself being as happy as you could possibly imagine. What are you doing? Where are you? Who are you with? How does it make you feel? Just kind of immerse yourself in that happy visualization. Now, I'm going to ring my bell again. And I invite you to take another deep breath. Again, just reconnecting to your body, kind of clearing that vision, seeing if you can't take another breath and reconnect and relax. Now, as I ask you this next question, I invite you to deeply reflect and lean into this question. What would you do if you were the wealthiest person on earth? What would you do if you were the wealthiest person in the world? As you visualize being the wealthiest person in the world, what are some of the things that come up for you? What do you think about? What do you instantly think about? Who are you with? What are you doing? Wealthiest person in the world. Most people think about the changes they could immediately make in their life. They think about what they could do. They think about the people they could help. With all the money in the world, what could you do? Who could you help? Who could you be? How could you help others? And how does this make you feel? Just really immerse yourself in this visualization. Just stay with it for a quick moment. Now, one more deep breath as you again just kind of reconnect to yourself and mindfully relax, clearing your mind in a mindfully relaxed state. If I asked you, based upon what you felt in the prior two questions, what you felt, which person would you rather be? The happiest or the wealthiest person in the world? Now, if you're honest and you're really leaning into how you feel, most people would say wealthiest. So I'm going to ask you to just stay present with me. You can open your eyes if they're still closed, but I want to talk about that. And I want to talk about the difference. And it's okay if you intellectually disagree with what I just said. If you intellectually say, I'd still rather be happiest. And I invite you to really stay with me here and follow along, because I'm going to challenge the way you think and invite you to connect in this relaxed, mindful place. Because I'm going to explain your brain in just a moment, what it's designed to do and why I'm saying these things. And if you think, Heather, I already know these things, Heather, I've been through this before, happy is really what I want, wealth doesn't do anything for me, please stay with me. I challenge you, because you're already here for a reason. And I'm going to be very blunt and I'm going to say, you're probably lying to yourself and justifying certain feelings and resisting even more. So let's talk first about the brain and what it's designed to do. The brain has a goal to seek survival and to seek pleasure. Okay? Now, we live in a society, a modern society, where survival isn't really as eminent of a danger or fear as it used to be many, 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 many years ago. I do not have a risk of a tiger or a bear on a daily basis or a regular basis, or even on a very rare occasion. Very, very rarely am I in a situation where I have a fear of a tiger or bear coming to kill me. That's survival. That's the most primitive survival perspective. That's true fear. Okay. So the goal of the brain is to seek survival first and then pleasure. Now, when you are envisioning yourself as the happiest person on earth, you likely envisioned yourself being on a beach or in a happy place or surrounded by loved ones. Maybe you were sipping on your favorite drink or traveling, enjoying trips. You were envisioning being happy, being in a state of happiness. I'm thinking about my kids and I are planning a trip to Greece sometime next year, and we've been looking at places and things we want to do. And that thought alone relaxes me and makes me feel very happy. It puts me in a state of being that is relaxing. But it also puts me in a state of being where I'm not doing a whole heck of a lot. So when people envision being happy, rarely do they see themselves in what we call money-making activities. Rarely is it a super productive activity state. It's usually this true blissful place of happiness where it's not doing much at all. Now stay with me because there's caveats to everything. And yes, being on vacation, you can relax and still be productive and blah, blah, blah. But from a brain perspective, when the human brain experiences pleasure and contentment, it's relaxing to a point where it's almost shutting down. Now, this is not a bad thing. And I teach this technique to my client all the time of how you can actually relax, what you can do in order to relax. Relaxing is a good thing. But think about this for a moment. The state of mind that you're in when you're relaxed, kind of like when you've eaten a giant Thanksgiving meal, all you want to do is take a nap. You're full, your belly's full, your brain is in this kind of food coma, you're in some sort of euphoric place, this blissful, pleasurable place. You're not very motivated. It's a state where the motivation center, the motivation pathway, the motivation network of your brain, these circuits are actually being turned off in this state because you're so relaxed. Now let's go back to thinking about what I said earlier about the wealthiest versus the happiest, okay? Most participants who go through my programs and have gone through this exercise I just took you through of looking at wealth versus happiness, most would say, 95% would say, after going through this exercise, they would choose wealth before happiness. And the reason, the similarity that comes through that, the reason is because of what wealth could do for them and with them. What they could do, all the good that they could do in the world with all this wealth. They could be of service. They could help their family. They could do all these things, which in turn creates happiness. So again, why do so many people struggle with money or have money fear and stress? Like I mentioned, you cannot do much without money, and it causes so much stress. I have a client. I'm going to protect this client's name and profession. So if I stutter, I'm trying to protect him. But I have a client who I had a conversation with recently, many times, but most recent, a very specific event. He came to me originally because he said, I don't have a money problem. I don't have a money concern. He is an executive in a company and has a very nice salary according to some people's standards, and he is comfortable. He was telling me, though, that he's more focused on reducing stress and time management and just that burnout stage of trying to avoid. And that's really what he wants to work on. So the conversation with him, he recently went on a vacation with his family, a very long vacation, a great vacation, again, according to some people's standards. And what he was telling me when he came back is it was awful. He said he was not able to relax and he really did not enjoy himself. So as we were having dialogue back and forth and I was asking him and trying to understand what happened, it really sounded great to me in terms of the things that they did and where they were at. It was an island and it really sounded quite lovely. But he was really stressed the whole time. Moments, I'm sure. I'm sure there were moments where he enjoyed, but overall, he saw himself being even more stressed by being on this vacation. And again, as I kind of got a better understanding of what his day-to-day was during the vacation, what he ended up telling me was that every day he planned that day's activities around him being able to check his email, check into the office, and do things for work. He essentially planned his vacation around work. Now, I have nothing against working on vacation. I like working on vacation in some cases, but it can be extremely counterproductive in most cases. There are specific ways and skills to be able to balance that, and most people don't have them. So I asked him why he was working so much. Why did you do this every day? He had all the normal answers. He felt like he needed to check in on his team. There were things that just flat out needed to be done and to get done. And I said, okay, what's the worst thing that would have happened had you not have done that each day? What was the worst thing that could have happened? And again, he gave me all the normal answers of, well, I might have let my team down. What if they needed something? What if? I don't need to tell you, you can kind of guess what his answer probably was. As I probed deeper and I kept going back and forth, I ended up asking him, what is really the worst possible scenario here? Like, paint the worst picture that could have possibly happened had you not have checked in on work. And what he finally came up with was he was fearful of losing it all, the bottom dropping out, the rug being pulled out from under him. And we worked on quite a few other things in this conversation, but the main keys I want to pull out here for you today is what he said was, I'm fearful of losing my job. I'm really fearful of losing it all. That domino effect of if it all falls apart, it would be devastating to his entire family. That pressure, the struggle, that's the fear. And what he admitted to me was really how resentful he actually felt of the situation he was in. Yes, he had a great salary, but he also mentioned that his spouse had a job, but didn't bring in a lot of money. So most of the financial obligation was on him. And that fear of not having this money ultimately was really paralyzing him. He had children in private school. He had toys, all the things you would imagine, a mortgage, just financial responsibility. And because of this, he actually felt shame and guilt around feeling this way, but it was this immense pressure and obligation. So the question came down to it's the fear of not having the money. And he's so shackled to his job because of being afraid of losing it. So my real question to him is, do you have a money problem? And the answer is yes. It's a money relationship problem. It's a money dependency problem. It's a money fear problem. It's a struggle. And most life and decisions are based upon fear. So let's go back to this bigger question. Do I have to choose either happiness or money? That's not fair to say I have to choose between the two. The good news is you can have both. Your brain is very programmed to have both. Your brain's programmed to pursue anything and everything to enhance your life because that's how it's designed. Think about this for a moment. If you observe a child, a 2-year-old, a 3-year-old, think about if you've had children or if you observed other children at those ages, they look like they're greedy little beings. Their brains are actually learning, really, really starting to learn how to get what they want, but it's pleasure. Your brain is designed to pursue things and to pursue success and to pursue stuff. It just is. And if you observe these children, that's when you're starting to learn. That's when you're starting to learn a lot of habits and how to get what you want, how to negotiate, how to go through emotions when you don't get what you want. And so, yes, as we learn a lot of patterns. We learn so many habits. But my point right now is the brain is programmed to pursue anything and everything that can enhance your life. That includes health. That includes wealth. It includes your bank account. It includes well-being. Anyone and everyone wants more. Everyone wants more. Poor people want to be rich and happy. Or sometimes just food. Students want more grades. Attorneys want more wins, more clients. Entrepreneurs, business owner wants more wins, more clients. Managers, leaders want more success. Everyone wants more. That's part of that motivation center of the brain. That's how we learn. It's all about seeking and getting and seeking and getting. And you can. It is designed to have more. But this is where your brain gets in the way. If your sole goal here is happiness, if happiness is the goal, and that's what you're seeking, that's when your brain actually triggers feelings of isolation and feelings of loneliness and even misery in some cases. Think about people that say, I just want to be happy. And I know I've said that. I went through years and that was all I said. I'm like, I just want to be happy. And what I found, and you might have even observed this in yourself or in other people, when people really just hang on to that being the sole goal of I just want to be happy, it really starts to isolate them even more. That loneliness starts to really creep up because it blocks all the other goodness and things to come our way. And it actually is counterproductive to the motivation inside of us. And there's a lot of studies to back this up too. And I'm happy to talk about this in a different way, in a different time. There's a whole bunch of studies to back this up, but it's making money. And here's the big, big, big word here. Okay. This goes back to wealth. Making and spending money in a meaningful service way is the surest way for achieving deep and meaningful, long-lasting satisfaction. So let me say that differently. The key to your brain when you spend and make money in a very meaningful way of service is what creates deep, long-lasting satisfaction, which then creates, maybe the word you would choose is happiness. Satisfaction is really what you're seeking. Peace is what you're seeking. Joy is what you're seeking. Happiness is a fleeting thing, which is why it's so hard to, quote, stay happy. So let's go back to the money piece for just a moment. I mentioned earlier that the brain gets in the way of making money. The client I was talking about on vacation, he ended up saying he was so shackled to his job. His brain was in fear. He was so tied to the fear of what if I lose, the obligation that he felt, the stress, because he was so shackled to his job. That resentment that he ended up feeling he didn't really understand. He'd never seen that resentment before. And he felt ashamed because now he couldn't be present and he missed so many moments. And that's all he wanted on that vacation, was just to be present, but couldn't allow himself to fully feel joy and peace because of all these other things going on in his brain, his mind, and his feelings, and his heart. So he had a lot of resistance. He had a lot of fear. He had a lot of uncertainty. And your brain creates these habits. This is what I call the stress cycle. These are habits that even if it doesn't get you to the goal that you think you want, these habits create this comfort zone. The stress cycle is a complete comfort zone. And getting or doing anything differently actually freaks out the brain. It's like you want to be in this comfortable, familiar place, even if it doesn't serve your desires, because it's comfortable. I always tell my clients this, and I think about it like a forest. When you walk through a forest that's full of trees and woods and thorns and brush and just thick, you don't want to walk in the middle of that forest. You want to find a path. You want to find a path that's relatively easy, or if it's challenging, at least you know it's a path, because then it becomes comfortable, it becomes less dangerous. And so as you're walking down that path, that's usually where you're going to go now. But even if that path leads you to a place that you don't really want to be, the path is easy. Now, kind of like your goal, if you want to get out of a habit, if you want to change a habit, if you want to create a different goal, if you don't want to feel a certain way, now you've got to walk through this forest and create a new path. You have to walk through the forest and you kind of have to go through some weeds. You might encounter some thorns. You might have to go around a stump or two. And it might be really hard. Your brain's going to resist because it's unfamiliar, it's uncomfortable. Even if that path that you're trying to pave is going to get you where you want to go, it's going to be hard and your brain's going to resist. Your brain likes familiar, it likes comfort, and it likes pattern and habit because then it's predictable because of what I said earlier. Your brain wants to survive and it holds on to things that are familiar, so that way it feels good about survival. So how do we change this? The good news is we can. The first step, if you want to, is that. Do you want to change? And so I go back to what I will say the title of this podcast. Go reflect yourself. What do you want? But then have some awareness. Like my client, when, again, I will use this example, when he was telling me about how he felt miserable, he couldn't really see how he really felt. So I took him on what I call a little bit of an outer body experience for him to observe and to be honest with what he was actually thinking and feeling. I took him on an outer body experience to admit. So the first step is awareness. And maybe you don't even know how you feel. Maybe you can't even understand how you feel just yet. You may not have all the answers, but if you go reflect yourself and kind of have this, what I call the outer body experience, just to observe and ask yourself, what do I feel? With curiosity, with kindness. That's the first place to start. Knowing you can change it, knowing you can control how you think and feel. This resistance, this fear, and this uncertainty that we get into, all is a trigger. And it's a trickle effect too. I am going to invite you. I go through what I call the number one ways to understand the blocks and the resistance that your brain has taught you, I go through all of this and teach you a very simple, what I call a 3R method to eliminate fear, doubt, and worry around money in what I call the Money Mastery Workshop. And I want to invite you to join me August 30th at 11 a.m. Central Standard Time. On this workshop, I will show you how and why your brain creates so much resistance, especially around money, how you can uncover that real reason money's such a struggle for you, and instead show you how you can start creating an overflowing abundance of wealth, an overflowing abundance of wealth, of peace, of joy, so you can achieve what you desire, so you can make an impact, which is really what wealth does. So join me on August 30th at 11 a.m. Central Standard Time so you can bust through these limiting beliefs around money, so you can really understand how you can achieve peace and joy in your life, no matter what your income level is. This masterclass or workshop is an absolute game changer for you when it comes to reducing your stress around money. Become that money magnet now. Join me in the workshop. If you'd like to register, the notes have the link, or you can go to heatherjcrider.com/moneyworkshop. Now, the thing I want to point out to you is we all have foundations in our brain where our brain will limit the ability to have more peace and joy and stress less, and yes, around money. The definition of money is very different for different people, and that's okay. But when we look at what it does, what it causes in our life in terms of stress, obligation, feeling shackled to our job, it creates a lot of burden and misses a lot of moments. And that's really what we're trying to achieve here, are moments and experiences that matter, regardless of how much money we make. And what's so fascinating is when you can start to reduce that stress and fear and doubt around money, you become a money attractor. Things just start coming to you, and they can, but you have to start with having the courage to take a step back and say, how can I change this? Do I want to? Is this state that I'm in right now really where I want to stay? And if so, great. And if not, stay tuned for more. And more coming up, Go Reflect Yourself podcast episodes. I'm going to continue to talk about this in a little bit different ways, but I invite you to join me on that workshop. We're really going to dive deep, and I promise you, you will leave feeling so much better. In any event, thank you for being here, and we'll see you next time. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of Go Reflect Yourself. Please rate and review this episode, and if something moved you, please feel free to share. For more inspired action or to stay in touch, head on over to goreflectyourself.com or heatherjcrider.com. You can also take the growth mindset quiz and learn where your current growth mindset lies. Stay in touch on all social media at Heather J. Crider. Until next time, this is your host, Heather Crider, and I am challenging you to go reflect yourself so you can discover and become who you are meant to be.